As soon as you see that title screen, you know you're in for a treat. The first two Metroid games weren't anything too special. They were important for their time and had a lot of influence, but as games, you weren't really missing much by not playing them. But the guys and gals at Research and Development 1? Just rolls off the tongue. Anyway, they had to have known how much potential a game like this had, but trying to do that on NES or Game Boy just wasn't happening. Fast forward to the Super Nintendo, and they could finally make the game Metroid was always meant to be, and you can tell they brought their A game with this one right from the start. The infant Metroid from the end of Metroid 2 just killed everyone at the research station. That's why you kill them all. These things are omni-powerful. I don't understand why they didn't just keep this place on ice. It's such an obvious way to contain these things, but it won't be the last time the Federation did something irredeemably stupid. You've probably heard all this before though. Despite Metroid being this weird paradox where it's stupidly iconic and well known and has decent sales, yet it seems like no one's actually played them. That's not the case for Super, and Prime 3, probably. Maybe I'm disproving my own point, but what is my point? Well, it feels like everyone's played Super Metroid. It's talked about so much compared to the other games that it's ridiculous. This game was even the speedrun game for a good while. Before your Minecrafts and your Mario 64s, this was one of the games that paved the way for modern speedrunning, to the point where even the speedrunning Wikipedia page talks about it. Like, you know, any percent where you finish the game as fast as you can by any means possible? Yep, Super Metroid. As in, finish the game with any percentage. Not to mention that it and Symphony of the Night essentially popularized a new subgenre. Super Metroid's legacy is insane, and for good reason. It's a damn awesome game. But I didn't always think that. I first played this one on Wii Virtual Console. I think I got it off Club Nintendo for free. Same with the Wii U version. Whoa, being able to buy Super Nintendo games digitally, and like, you own it? Man, good times. Anyway, I played it after trying out the Prime games, and I felt unimpressed. Hell, I felt unimpressed with the Prime trilogy too. The only one I really liked was Prime 3. The other ones felt like some weird, confusing mess, including Super. Man, was I stupid. But that's the weird thing about Metroid for me. The more I play it, the more I appreciate it. Because when I got the Wii U version, I figured I'd try it out again, and I liked it more than I did before. And then I played it a third time where it really clicked with me. And a fourth. And then an eighth time, but with a randomizer. Every time I replay this game, I like it just a little bit more. It's insane. I always learn something new every playthrough. Maybe it's a new pickup I didn't know about, maybe it's a way to beat some enemy, maybe it's a new skip I didn't know about. It always feels like there's something new to experience with this game, and for something that's 27 years old, that's just astounding. I got all this to say about it, and I haven't even booted up the game yet to replay it. Hell, I don't think I even need to replay this game to tell you what I love about it so much. But where's the fun in that? Besides, I need footage. Well, it's time to look at Metroid 3.
The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.
Famous last words. Really though, you know that Sega jingle at the beginning of Genesis Sonic games? That took up more memory than entire levels. Nintendo somehow managed to squeeze in 2 whole sentences. Anyway, Super Metroid starts up with a recap of the first 2 games. Samus defeats Mother Brain, kills all the Metroids except for this infant, all that jazz. After Metroid 2, Samus gave the baby to a galactic research lab so they could, study its energy-producing qualities. We already know how that turned out. They sent a distress signal that Samus responds to, everyone's dead, and Ridley kidnaps the baby. Pissed off, Samus follows him down to Zebes, the planet from the first Metroid. From there, we quickly figure out that your goal is to take down each of the 4 main bosses to open the way to the end, same as the first game. Honestly, Super Metroid almost feels like a reimagining of the original at times. It's pretty similar to Earthbound in that regard. You even run backwards through the end of the first game to show how much time has passed since then. It's really clever. That opening section shows how much time has passed in gameplay too. The controls feel so much better even coming off of Metroid 2. Your jumps feel floaty and slow, but given this is more of a slower, exploration-heavy game, it works. The floatier jumps make vertical sections feel less clunky. I don't have to struggle landing on these small platforms as much. You can aim diagonally this time too, with Eleanor letting you lock to one direction for extra precision. With better aiming alone makes the game feel that much better. There were a ton of times where enemies were hard to hit because I just had to shoot it on an awkward angle. There's very rarely a time where I can't hit my shot anymore, and with this better aiming, you don't even need bombs to progress through this section anymore. You can just shoot downward. Afterwards, you get your basic abilities. While everything feels empty at first, getting the Morph Ball sets off his alarm system, and this early section of Zebes instantly comes to life, with space powers seemingly appearing out of nowhere, like they were waiting to ambush you, which is a pretty good setup to the main game. It's pretty similar to the first Metroid. You get new abilities to explore new areas, to get even more abilities. But because you have a map that shows you where you've been, half of the issues with these games are instantly fixed. Every time I looked up what I needed to do before, I just needed a shove in the right direction. With the map, I can figure that out by myself. There's these optional map rooms you can find and do that too. They fill out enough of the area to give you a good idea of where you can go, but they still keep enough of it hidden to encourage you to explore and discover all of its secrets. Some of these are stupidly well hidden too, like how the pickups are now marked on the map with a dot, but that doesn't mean there's only one on that square. Like I was trying to get this reserve tank, right? But I missed a shot, and I accidentally found a missile expansion below it. That's always cool to find. And there's the X-ray scope that you can find that reveals all the hidden tiles and stuff, as long as you're willing to slowly scan the area. It's really nice, but I kinda wish the viewing range was a little wider. The X-ray scope isn't Samus's only new toy though. There's a ton of new stuff this time. The Varia suit protects you from heat as well as doubling your defense. Super missiles do way more damage than the standard missiles. Power bombs basically give you a screen nuke. Beams finally stack, and you can even run by holding down a button. Oh, and did I mention that you have full button remapping? In a Super Nintendo game. Why is this such a near universal feature on PC but not consoles? It's stupid. But anyway, that run button can later be upgraded to the speed booster that lets you plow through everything in your path at breakneck speeds, and you can store that speed to pull off a super jump in the form of a shine spark. This thing practically breaks the game in speedrunning. It's glorious. The only new ability that feels kinda useless is the grapple beam. Mainly because if you know how to wall jump decently, which I'll get into in a bit, a good 2/3 of the pickups you can get with it can be collected early. And once you get the space jump, which lets you jump infinitely, it might as well not exist. It just needed more uses than being a grappling hook is all. You know, Metroidvanias have this bad habit of giving you abilities that you only use in one or two places, but that's not the case in Super. When you get a new ability, you use it almost constantly. Super missiles shred bosses. Power bombs are great for clearing out obstacles in rooms. The gravity suit, which lets you move in water without hindering your movement, has practically an entire area for it. You're even immune to certain kinds of lava with both the Varia and gravity suits. Seriously, it makes the weak sauce grapple beam stick out that much more because it actually feels like the only ability that's kinda useless. I'd give second place to Spring Ball though. Not because jumping while Morph Ball is useless, it's great. It's just that they only give it to you once you're like 80% of the way through the game. Combining it with a high jump boost after this was really nice. It has no business being such a late game ability. Honestly, my only big issues with the controls are the default button maps. This is the game's weird ass default controls, and this is the more comfortable layout in my opinion. The game really benefits from back triggers too. I put run and weapon switch on those on Wii U with weapon select on X. Seriously, can Switch SNES Online have button remapping? Please? I can't use ZL and ZR otherwise, and it makes the game control slightly worse for no reason. I can get used to this no problem, but it almost feels like the Super Nintendo just barely had enough buttons for this game. Aside from just exploring and getting stronger, your main objective is to take down each of the 4 main bosses. You just about have to do them in a set order though. That's Kraid, Phantoon, Dragon, then Ridley. But if you're good enough, you can actually do them in reverse order. Yeah, you can beat Ridley before you even get the Varia suit. I wish I was that good at this game. And that's kind of the main thing with Super Metroid, sequence breaking. After getting the Morph Ball, Bomb, and missiles, you can do just about anything in any order as long as you're good enough to find a way around not needing an ability. Obviously, there was an intended order you're supposed to get new abilities in to progress through the game, but that order is merely a suggestion. Here's the most famous example. To get into the Kraid fight, you need the high jump boots. You obviously can't jump high enough to get past this ledge, unless you use this new technique called wall jumping. Aside from this one optional portion of the game, they never tell you about this and they don't expect you to use it. But it is quite possibly the most important technique in the entire game. You have to move away from a wall while spinning and then jump to jump off of the wall. It's pretty tricky to do consistently, to the point where I often have to readjust myself whenever I replay the game. This ain't no Mega Man X, you have to get good at this. Although I got the hang of it pretty quickly vertically this time, oddly enough. Using wall jumps essentially means you can scale any vertical wall regardless of abilities, as long as you can pull it off long enough. If you're crafty, you may notice that you can just barely touch this really small wall. So, if you wall jump off of it, you can fight it and defeat Kraid before you get the high jump boots. What's the point of this? Well, in this specific example, there is no point. The high jump boots are only a few rooms away. It's smarter to just get those and immediately run back to fight Kraid to get the warrior suit for the hot rooms that are ahead. But that's no fun. In any other game, this would be a design flaw. The game is supposed to be played in a certain way, so you're usually railroaded into getting abilities in a mostly set order. As an example, you can't get the metal cap in Mario 64 until Hazy Maze Cave, so you can't get this 1 star in Jolly Roger Bay until you at least defeat Bowser in the Dark World. But using glitches, that doesn't matter because it's possible to get at the basement without getting a single star. That's seen as a break in the sequence, which isn't intended. But in Super Metroid, it's completely intended. There's no way they didn't know about all the stuff you knew with wall jumping. The attention to detail in this game is so good that Samus's sprite isn't mirrored when she walks left and right. You can even turn abilities on and off individually for no other reason than you can. They wanted you to do this, and it's pretty crazy how much better the game becomes when you actually get decent in wall jumps. You can move faster, there's less backtracking, and the grapple beam is even less useful. Here's another example of how good wall jumping is. To my knowledge, you're supposed to get the ice beam in Norfair with the speed booster to go back to Brinstar to get the power bombs, to turn around to go back to Norfair to get the grapple beam so you can get the wave beam. But with a simple wall jump or two, you can get the wave beam before you even get the ice beam. And there's a power bomb pickup right near the grapple beam with a fairly doable but not obvious jump, so you don't have to backtrack to Brinstar. Again, what's even the point of all this? Well, sequence breaking is usually something only used in speedrunning, but I'm not a speedrunner, and I could figure out how to do this stuff by myself. I got myself stuck in Maridia for the 20th time. I don't have encyclopedic knowledge about this game, and I could do this. That's badass and shows just how flexible the progression is. It always feels like you can get better at the game and do things in a different order, which is something I'd rarely see in games. Learning how to sequence break Super Metroid increases replay value tenfold. And keep in mind, you don't actually have to do this. I don't think I knew you could wall jump on my first playthrough, but putting this in and letting you feel like you're breaking the rules of the game is just so much fun to me. It helps make the atmosphere of the game feel less like you're alone on an alien planet, and more like that planet is your playground to progress however you please. It's a shame they never kept this design philosophy. I think you can sequence break Zero Mission a little bit through normal gameplay, but that's about it as far as I know. Oftentimes, they got rid of sequence breaks in re-releases of future games, like how scan dashing doesn't work in the Wii version of Prime. And to be fair, something like that was unintentional, but what you can do in Super Metroid was intentional, and I'd love to see another game designed like this. It makes the game more fun to replay, and ends up more non-linear than it already is. Metroid doesn't have to be this giant sequence break fest though. Future games are still fantastic without this, but there's a certain beauty to this kind of sequence breaking design that really makes me want a modern take on it. Seriously, if they could pull this off in a new game, it would stand out even among modern Metroidvanias. It's been 27 years since then, and I still can't find another game like Super Metroid in this regard. Super Metroid isn't just trumping the previous entries in gameplay either. Let me get more into that atmosphere I mentioned a bit ago. Metroid 1 didn't really have much, and to be fair, it was an NES game. Atmosphere wasn't something video games figured out they could have back then. But with Metroid 2, they definitely tried to give it one, but it was on Game Boy and it didn't work that well. Being in the dark recesses of the planet can only go so far when the game sounds like this. But on Super Nintendo, they finally had the hardware to completely nail it. You start out and there's no enemies and it's all quiet, right? But they do show up and you gain more abilities and more power. You may be alone, but who cares? You're a one-woman army that doesn't need no help. The music gives off this kind of vibe that puts you in the mood for exploring. Whether it be deep caves, sprawling jungles, or a haunted ship, the music almost always sets off the perfect tone for the kind of area it's in. Luckily, we've got some great areas to go with this atmosphere, which is kinda odd to say on paper because it's the same areas from the first game, with some new ones of course. Seriously, you're still going through Brinstar, Torian, and Norfair, but they feel totally different. Before, Brinstar felt like these weird caves, but now it's a sprawling jungle, and the fact that you need the warrior suit to get through most of Norfair now just emphasizes how you're literally running through some volcanic wasteland. Torian is still the endgame linear hallway though, not that it's a bad thing. For a Materia is pretty much the beginning overworld where your ship lands, and your ship doubles as both a save point and a health and ammo refill. It's pretty convenient when you happen to make your way here, which will happen. These areas don't have one entrance and exit. They're totally interconnected for the most part. Finding a new way to get into an area you've already been to is awesome. It makes the world feel bigger than what it really is. And it's a big reason why I'm not bothered by the lack of fast travel. Everything is so interconnected to each other, you can get from one side of the world to the other in about 5 minutes at most. It really adds to that adventure atmosphere of the game. But if they added in some kind of fast travel, I wouldn't mind. Honestly, they should just have a system ripped straight from Hollow Knight, where there's a tram station or something that gives you a point in each area they can move between. I feel that would be a good middle ground if there had to be one. The wrecked ship is definitely my favorite new area. It's this destroyed alien spaceship that's filled with really primitive robots and stuff. Too bad we have to use them as floors to speed boost through. They're good boys. They don't deserve being trapped in a pit for all eternity. Although the power in this place doesn't turn on until you beat Phantoon, which is an alien ghost. Yeah, totally not weird or anything. And what does killing a ghost have to do with turning on power? That's not how electricity works. Speaking of Phantoon though, he's weirdly the hardest boss in this game. His attacks are really hard to dodge, and you have a pretty small window to damage him. Even Ridley goes down like a bitch by just spamming missiles. Phantoon means business, and I still feel like I'm gonna lose whenever I fight him. And then there's this weird mole dragon thing. He dies in like 2 seconds and doesn't even give you an ability. What's the point of this dude? You even fight him in easily the worst area in the game, Maridia. Maridia is the underwater section, but you go there right after getting the gravity suit, so it's basically just the same as anywhere else. Although, that's where part of the initial problems show up. There's an entrance in the wrecked ship, and since you got the gravity suit in the wrecked ship, the logical assumption would be to go to Maridia from that end. No, that's too simple. If you go through the ship entrance, you'll end up at these doors that can't be opened. So, how do you open them? By defeating Dragon, which I'm fine with, but there's no indication that's how they open. So if you didn't know about the Brinstar entrance, it's likely you'll get stuck figuring out what to do. The two entrances do link up together, but only through a hidden passage, which is just stupid. If you didn't find that passage, then you gotta turn around and run all the way back to Brinstar for assuming that the water area nearby is where you needed to go next. Like I said, I don't mind the lack of fast travel in this game. The world is usually designed in such a way that going from place to place is never annoying, but Maridia is just annoying enough that I really want to suck it up and get through it. The main thing is this room, just because in order to progress you have to break this single fake block to actually go toward Dragon. Fake blocks are actually something I really like about Metroid. You can look at some blocks and they just look wrong or out of place. And with that paranoia, shoot it and check it out, a missile expansion, that's cool. You get rewarded for paying attention to your surroundings. But this fake block just looks totally normal, which threw me off. It was also this place filled with falling sand that drags you down. It's a pain in the ass to go through because you have to jump in just the right way. Along with the quicksand on the floor, this stuff only lets you jump when it wants to. This place is just ugh. And once you get out of the water area and into this freezer place, there's suddenly no longer any major problems. Except for these sand pits that put you into a hidden area for more pickups, but then throw you back into the falling sand room. Because God forbid I actually want to explore a bit. And you have to do this twice because there's 2 sand pits that lead to 2 different rooms. Again. Ugh. Like, why is this one specific portion of the game so annoyingly designed? And the real kicker is how that as soon as you get the space jump, Maridia is no longer annoying. Most of the issues can just be avoided by jumping infinitely. But after you backtrack to the place with the locked doors to get the plasma beam and spring ball, you don't have to come back here, so yeah. Although once you figure out how to navigate Maridia, there isn't much issue with it. This place is just beginner's trap at worst. But Maridia is still the only annoying part of the game. I'm moving on now. While Maridia is the only annoying part of the game, Lower Norfair is the only hard part of the game. There's rising lava that harms you even with both suit upgrades, and the enemies are super tough. I hate these gold pirates that you can only damage when they lower their guard. I can never figure out how to specifically make them do that, and I just take a lot of damage in the process. Lower Norfair is the only place where I died. Super Metroid is pretty easy otherwise. Although I probably made it harder for myself by going the wrong way and fighting Ridley before getting the screw attack. Yeah, I forgot that the left path wasn't just a dead end. But after kicking Ridley's ass, it's finally time to rescue the baby. Oh God, where'd he go? Where'd he go? Well, we beat the 4 main bosses, so guess it's time to beat up Mother Brain again. Oh wait, I forgot about Dragon. Mainly because I don't remember what his fight is actually like. There's a super easy way to cheese the fight by getting grabbed by Dragon and using the grapple beam to shock yourself and insta-killing the boss. It's not something you'll likely figure out by yourself, and it's clearly more memorable than the boss, seeing how I just forgot what fighting him is even like. Anyway, Torian, it's just a standard linear hallway at first, having you kill all the Metroids along the way. Oh yeah, the Space Pirates clone more of these damn things, that's fun. But once you find this enemy that takes 5 super missiles to kill, the tone starts to shift. Everything is dead and turns to ash as soon as you touch it. But then you run into another one of those strong enemies, and this giant-ass Metroid just attacks it and kills it like it's nothing. Then it comes after you and leaves you at 1 health before it stops. And you realize that it's the baby Metroid before it flies away. What did they do to him? Luckily, they're not dicks. They don't leave you with 1 HP. Definitely would have been something Metroid 1 would have tried to do. Although, in some sense of divine irony, they put a save point past the point of no return. Why can't the door just open again? There's no reason for this. It's one of my biggest pet peeves in RPGs. You're essentially just soft-locking the player for no reason. At least you can make a save state nowadays instead. But now it's final boss time, except it's literally the same as Metroid 1. It's super easy now that you can aim diagonally. Oh, well, what? Mother Brain's Dino Brain now. Which sets up for this super awesome fight, right? No. This boss fight is a cutscene. Dino Brain shoots a rainbow death ray at you, you almost die, baby Metroid absorbs the laser, gives you your health back, it dies, you have the hyper beam, and easily win. Honestly, I don't like this boss, never have. Look, I love how they're showing you story through gameplay. You feel hopeless until the baby comes in and sacrifices itself to save you. And it even changes color as it loses health like any other boss in the game would do. That's an awesome touch! This kind of storytelling was super ahead of its time and all that jazz. It's just boring on a repeat playthrough. There's no challenge or strategy or anything to make this interesting past storytelling, which usually just makes me want to get it over with and finish the game. I'm pretty sure I died on this boss once, as weird as that sounds, but it's just boring me, alright? It's the same easy fight every time. Afterwards, another escape sequence on a time limit. The planet is exploding, so get back to your ship so you don't die. But between the screw attack and hyper beam, you have plenty of time to make it back. Don't leave just yet, though, because you remember those animals that taught you how to shine, spark, and wall jump? Save those guys first, don't be a dick. This does absolutely nothing except add a pixel to the ending, but man, does it make me feel good. So if you've ever seen a game done quick and felt some kind of primal fear within you when you see there's been $80,000 donated toward kill the animals, this is what they meant. Afterwards, Zebus explodes, but Samus dramatically makes it out just in time as usual. The end. Fusion review next week. See you all next mission. Oh yeah, that's cool. To the whole 170 of you who have seen a video of mine before, why do I use this for my outro? Because it's cool. And editing it is pretty easy. This little animation always left a good impression on me. The way she just jumps up and shoots the screen before showing your completion percentage was always something I looked forward to seeing. And I love the "see you next mission" phrase that they use in every end screen from now on. It's like, yeah, we know you'll be back for more. So, I figured I could use my favorite game outro for my video outro, and my favorite video game intro for my intro. I'm sure someone was curious. That was Super Metroid. Third time really is the charm, huh? This review was probably a little shorter than I would have liked, but I feel like basically everything's already been said about it. You could release this game as is with extra button maps and 16:9 support, and it would still be fantastic. Considering this game is 27 years old, that's about as timeless as you're gonna get. Obviously, there's a few issues with it. The door transitions can be faster, you really don't need to play the whole power-up jingle every time I get a missile expansion. Seeing doors on the map would be nice, marking pickups I saw but didn't collect would be useful. The lack of fast travel can be a little annoying, and weapon switching is pretty clunky. But you can ignore those small issues and it wouldn't change how incredible the core experience is. Even Maridia is fine when you already know your way around. I was mainly complaining about it because I'm probably an idiot. Super saw all the flaws with the previous entries and didn't just fix them. It polished the flaws and strengths until we had arguably the best game in the genre that the series pioneered. Even energy farming isn't a hassle anymore, seeing as you kill multiple enemies with one shot and only gives you pickups you actually need. Maybe I'm just biased, but I really don't think this game needs a remake. Unlike the first two, I never thought Super Metroid felt outdated dated in any way. It has aged like a fine wine, not those boxed wines your mom buys, no, the fancy-ass stuff. This game is a masterpiece. To the shock of no one. Hell, Super Metroid was so good that I guess they felt intimidated and didn't make another game for 8 years. They even made 2 new games just to make up for that. But this marathon's about 2D Metroid. I will cover the Prime games eventually, but for now, I'm good just talking about Fusion. This has been Flame Guy, and Super Metroid is only my second favorite Metroid game. Take care, and I'll see you all next mission.